Welcome to the Calder Farmstead.
Now the Ice Hawks back out to center in transition. Carlson with Quenneville 2-on-1. Right when Carlson comes, Quenneville scores!
Here's a chance for Herrick. Fight, he scores! Off the face-off! Up in Zeminger. Pulled back to Werenski. Has it, shoots one, bounces off a man. 5 seconds left. Werenski, another jam on the shot, turning and firing. They score! Scores! They score! Now they catch each other and they both go right over the top. Matching rights to one another. McDermott gets the helmet off of Chaffee.
And now, with 9 minutes gone in overtime, the Bears breaking out right side with Bear. Looks like cutting to the net. Farrell will score!
And here are your hosts, C.C. and Sean.
Hello and greetings from the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado.
And Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Oh, Canada. Welcome to the Calder Farmstead podcast, episode number 93 for Tuesday, March 29th, 2022. If you're hoping for a podcast featuring a guide to detecting bad soil from previously cultivated crops, we are not going to be much help. This is an American Hockey League podcast, and my name is C.C. Hockley, the AHL editor of Full Press Hockey.
And I'm Sean O'Brien from StatsTrack and the AHL's only league-wide analytics guy.
And as always, we thank you for tuning in with us.
And if you're new to hearing CC and I talk about hockey, we're going to recap some of the matchups from the past weekend in the American Hockey League for you. We both watch a lot of AHL games. We're going to talk about what we see when we watch the film, as well as use some advanced stats to help us break that down. If that's new to you, you may want to head over to our podcast feed or YouTube channel, wherever you're listening to us from, and check out episode 0. It's a short primer on some of the stats we're going to be talking about, as well as how we view what's important on the ice. So if you're new to some of the more advanced hockey stats terms like PDO or the point shares model, or some of the newer hockey terms like controlled zone entries or scoring chances, go check that out so you better be able to pick up what we're putting down. I promise it's not that nerdy or technical. It's only 20 minutes. And let's be honest, you wasted 20 or more minutes watching the Oscars. You only needed to watch about 2 of them. And at this point, I'm pretty sure you know which 2 minutes I'm talking about. You'll never get the rest of that time back. So next time, why not spend a little more time with us talking hockey?
What 2 minutes are we talking about? What?
Yeah.
What?
If you haven't figured it out, CC, I can't help you.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, I guess we'll move on and start talking about hockey. First and foremost, let's talk about the picks from last week, because Courtney, ever so diligently, her third time this season, filled in on my behalf. I was MIA. Leave that up to conjecture as to where I was. I know you always like to put your conspiracy theory in there.
How was March Munch? Was it delicious?
Yes. Yes, it was. But I digress. So this was Courtney's second go this season at the Pick'ems. And like last time, we're going to see how she did against Mr. Sean O'Brien. And we have a tie. 18 for 31, both you and Courtney coming in at a 58.1 positive pick percentage.
Wow, that's
clearly
like
confused.
It's actually kind of amazing that we haven't had a tie this entire time.
Yeah, this is
Wow.
our first tie.
It's our first tie. Yeah,
It
like
is.
we don't have a tie-breaking procedure, I guess, because maybe we should. We'll have to think about that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But the tie doesn't matter because the machines win again. The model picking 19 of 31, having one more correct pick than you and Courtney, going 61.3% in the positive pick percentage. Courtney is 0-1-1 against Sean, while Sean is 1-0-1 against Courtney. Just like collegiate Hockley, ties are a thing, and they're still a thing here on the farmstead. So
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out a way around that. Ties are very unhockey. Frozen 4 doesn't have ties, so
correct. That is correct. So, and 'tis the season for that. But anyway, Monday, as we were recording this, was the AHL trade deadline. And boy, my phone started blowing up. I'm like, oh, time for trades. So let's get to it. Let's break these down real quick. Defenseman Brady Lyle, traded from the Providence Bruins to the Springfield Thunderbirds for what Belleville so covets. Got any more damn futures? Future considerations. Sean, your take on this trade.
this very much feels like more of an indictment on the T-Birds' defensive depth than anything else. Lyle has been wholly underwhelming in Providence this season, but outside of Rosen and Cross, the T-Birds really don't have a lot of reliable depth on defense for guys who can flat move the puck. Matt Castle, who just signed his ELC, is very much in the mold of what they already pretty much have. Defensive defenseman with pretty limited upside in the offensive zone. But Lyle at least gives them someone who kind of, sort of, maybe could make some offense happen. I don't think it's too likely that he springs to life here, but we've seen, changes of scenery do guys a lot of good. The Blues also didn't paper down the Scott Perunovich Paintor, which I don't understand, but I guess so. This is very much we needed to do something to shore up defense because we can't count on guys coming back from St. Louis to help us. So the T-Birds made a move here and got probably, someone that was on the higher end that was available. But it's something. It's not one that really moves the needle too much for me, though, but is addressing the T-Birds at least doing something to address an area of weakness on the team. So from that aspect, I like it. The player they got, I'm not very high on this season. I saw some other takes out there that were a lot more rosy colored, which sure, I don't know what you've seen, but that's not what I've seen from Brady Lyle. But I think he's at least a better puck mover than, the bottom four on the roster that the T-Birds have right now.
This next trade was kind of a surprising one, but we'll foreshadow a little bit. The third transaction, they tied together. But this second one here, Max Latunov traded from the Chicago Wolves to the Hartford Wolfpack for Tarmo Reunanen, defenseman there, heading to Chicago. So, Sean, again, let's unpack this one.
Yeah, this moves the needle a bit more here.
Yeah.
And I actually really like this. This is something that, we obviously can't make this trade in our trade deadline show because there are NHL contracts here. That was out of the scope of what we were allowed to do. Because if we were allowed to trade NHL contract guys, man, we could have gone absolutely wild. So, and that felt like too big an experiment in fantasy casting as opposed to a real trade. But like this, I like this for both sides here. Chicago has plenty of offensive depth, but they, could use some defensive depth. Hartford on the other side needs another center and has enough guys on defense that they can afford to kind of shift one around here. Morgan Barron's absence as an elite AHL garbage man has also been felt. Enter Max Latunov, who is an established net front presence and can fill in admirably for Barron in that sense, as well as give them good center depth. So that very much fills a need for Hartford, especially as Johnny Brodzinski not coming back this season, Greg McKegg not coming back this season. Hartford needed something for this playoff push to have any kind of juice to it, and this is a good move for them. The bottom pair for Chicago has been a bit shaky. Josh Jacobs is also hurt. Jalen Chatfield also potentially injured. He didn't play this weekend for them. The Wolves sought to fill a need here and did so with Reunanen, who's a decent puck mover with good vision in the offensive zone. Defense-wise, he's not the best, but he's capable enough. His skating kind of holds him back from being a better rush defender, more effective play overall. But if they're looking to just plug him in as a, number 4, number 5, number 6 defenseman most nights in the playoffs, he's more than capable of that.
And here's the tail end of why Latunov probably got dealt here at the AHL trade deadline. Richard Panik, rather. I want to say Panic because Panic at the Disco. Loaned from the New York Islanders to the Chicago Wolves. It always kind of a head scratcher with these loans and everything like that. Sean, your thoughts?
Definitely expendable part for the Sound Tigers here. He's not really done much to help them on offense despite an NHL resume. If he can find his game with a change of scenery, that's a pretty decent deal. What is essentially for, in theory, nothing. I'm sure there was probably some, favors exchanged under the table as Lou Lamoriello is not just going to be like, yeah, sure. You know what? You need a hand from me. I'm all about the helping other teams that aren't my team. That sounds like Lou, right? So it's possible that Richard Panik here makes a bigger splash for Chicago than he did for Bridgeport. He wouldn't be the first guy to leave the island of Connecticut and find his offensive game again. AJ Greer. But
bless you.
Yeah, thank you. But not necessarily a needle mover for me, but at least one that has some upside and didn't cost them a direct piece. Probably just, some cash or a, free after season party or something like that.
Something under the table, like you said. Next up, third and last transaction of the day for the Chicago Wolves. Chris Begris traded from Wilkes-Barre Scranton to Chicago for those wonderful futures, those future considerations. So, yeah, I guess maybe filling the need, getting another defenseman in spite of injuries, maybe.
Yeah, and this one felt more like we're just trying to grab a guy who we trust more than some of our youths to be a good seventh defenseman, because that's really all I see in Chris Begris. He's had three years that we posted graphs of him for on Twitter, and only one of them was a standout year, and that was the COVID watered down year where he only got to play like Binghamton, who was terrible, and Wilkes-Barre Scranton, who was terrible, and then Hershey, who was good. So I very much think he is closer to like a fine number 6 defenseman in the AHL than anything. But again, Chicago probably needed another, defenseman just to shore up depth. They traded, cash under the table or a, charity golf tournament invite for the GMs and team in the offseason, or maybe some flat screen TVs. I have no idea. But they got Chris Begris for it, and that was probably going to be something that helped Chicago. I mean, Chicago is basically all in every year. I think we've learned that from watching the Wolves at this point now, that they are forever the bachelor, never settling down to, do development things full time. It's always kind of a side hobby for them. So this is very much a go for it move, as the Wolves are in go for it mode every year. Not one that moves the needle, but he's at least a reasonable depth pickup for a playoff run. I'd be concerned if the Wolves try and put him into anything more than like a number 5 defenseman role. I wouldn't count on him for more than that, but if they can find, good minutes for him, I think he'll be a useful piece.
Last trade of the day, we go from West Coast to East. Not quite East Coast, but New York, Rochester, New York. Mark Alt, former Eagles captain Mark Alt, former Reign player and now current Amerks player. Mark Alt traded from the San Jose Barracuda to the Rochester Americans for Mason Jobst. Defenseman for forward. What do you think of this trade, Sean?
I like this trade a lot for Rochester. While Alt has definitely lost a step in straight line speed, he's still a physical defender down low and at the net front, and that's definitely an element the Amerks have been missing all season in their defense core. They have a lot of guys who can move the puck well. They have a lot of guys who can play defense in transition, but they have lacked someone who can shut down the high danger areas of the net front and be physical and win battles and be kind of just mean. And that's like, I know I posted graphs of some of his and they haven't been the greatest, but he is not someone that has had a lot of success being, the sole net front defender on otherwise bad defensive teams.
Right.
The Barracuda have been a tire fire on defense this year. And has he been outstanding in spite of that? No, he hasn't. He's, but he's been, I feel like, more of the solution, more part of the solution than part of the problem in a Barracuda jersey this year. The same could be said, previously in Ontario. That team defensively was not very good, but he was at least maybe the least bad on that team. But he's had good seasons on good teams, his ones with the Eagles, and he's still been a reasonably productive net front defender who can, I think, do more offense than he seems very risk averse. He's not going to be someone who takes a lot of chances in the offensive zone, because I think he knows he doesn't have the foot speed to make up ground if he gets caught, and would rather just be conservative in that aspect. But like we said, the Amerks have plenty of puck movers, but they need a more physical, battle-winning defenseman. That's something they missed the whole season. The fact that Mason Jobst is going back to the Barracuda, I'm sure the Barracuda are like, sure, that's a guy. We needed at least a guy for this trade, so we got one. But that's a trading from a position of strength, which is, some offensive depth. Now that they're getting guys healthy, and he figures to have kind of a lower role in the lineup now that guys are coming back to the Amerks. So I like this trade a lot for them. I think it's going to at least help solidify an area of weakness a little bit for Rochester, should Alt be able to find his form from seasons that have gone a little more smooth.
Jobst, those tricky last names where the J's are Y's. But yeah, I mean, real quick, just to kind of wrap this up, on social media, you said that Alt was kind of a low risk investment, as it were, for Rochester. I mean, and with the seasons that he's had, it's not like, yeah, you're taking him out of a very poor defensive Barracuda team, like you mentioned, and moving him over to Rochester and a team that probably wants to make a push in the North Division and maybe, go on a run, go on a tear.
Yeah, I think Rochester, if they can get into the playoffs here, and I still think they have a good shot at it. Like, this weekend did not do them too many favors. They may be, the closest to the Bear right now in that ongoing metaphor that we're going to keep going with, because that's really what it is. It's 5 teams trying to outrun a Bear. You don't have to be the fastest team. You just have to be the second, not the slowest team, and let somebody else get eaten by the Bear.
There you go.
That's what the North playoff race is now. And I think the Amherst are probably, when I update the model on Thursday, going to turn out to be the closest to the Bear, but still very much alive. But I think Alt helps them. And again, low risk. Nothing a personal offense to Mason Jobst, but like, I didn't think he was ever going to be something more than, a depth forward in the AHL level, middle six guy at the absolute peak. Whereas, like, there are plenty of them on Rochester that they can kind of plug and play in when everyone's healthy. They need what Mark Alt in theory can give them. So if from nothing else, this was a move where you can at least see the wheels turning in them trying to shore up some weaknesses here with this trade. So low investments. I like the return. I think it could probably work out well for them. And if it doesn't, you did something here. If they would have done nothing at this deadline, I think that would have been a worse look for them.
Sure. Well, let's take a quick break. We'll run a quick ad. Stick around. We're going to go to the Atlantic Division. We're going to talk about the Hershey Bears and the weekend that they had. But Bears. Different kind of Bears, though. Hang tight. We're going to run one ad, and we shall return very shortly. Stay tuned. All right, so we had to cover the AHL trade deadline. Let's get into the weekend that was, and we're going to go back over, at least Sean and Courtney were the ones who previewed the weekend, but Sean and I are going to review the weekend. We're going to recap the weekend. We're going to start with the Hershey Bears over in the Atlantic Division. Friday, 7:05 p.m. at Providence. Saturday, 7 p.m. at Hartford. 2-game road set. Sean, talk about the goals. Let's start with Friday.
All right. Short affair on Friday. Justin Brazeau speeds past Alex Alexiev on a rush chance and drives to the net. He makes a pass to the slot that's broken up, but a scrum in the net front ensues. Eddie Whitcow comes in and dumps Brazeau on Fucale, and Tyler Lewington jams home the loose puck as Fucale has a Brazeau on him. 1-0 Bruins, 13:30 left in the third period, and a Matt Philp empty netter will seal it for Providence, 2-0. Not much going on in that one. Saturday, though, more goals. On the penalty kill, Beck Melenstein over-pursues the puck, and the Wolfpack work the puck across Royal Road from Laredo to Greco. Greco slips a pass through Nardella to a wide-open Nick Merkley at the back door. Merkley taps it in, 1-0 Wolfpack, 7:06 left in the first. A series of not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 turnovers in the Bears' defensive zone leads to an extended possession for the Wolfpack on offense. A Jared Tenorti point shot is deflected wide by Brett Leeson, but Alex Whalen wins the race to the loose puck, tries to jam it in, and the rebound goes to Cristiano Di Jacinto at the goal mouth, and he bangs it in. 2-0 Wolfpack with just over 5 minutes left in the first. Shane Gersich and Cody Clark over-pursue on the penalty kill, and the Wolfpack work the puck to Zach Jones at the bottom of the left circle. Jones finds Anthony Greco on an island, in the slot, and he snaps one glove side past Copley. 3-0 Wolfpack, 10:24 left to go in the second. Hershey executes the double drop power play zone entry to perfection, sets up Nardella at the point. Nardella winds up a shot that Kincaid stops, but he can't control the rebound. Garrett Pilon is right there and taps it in. 3-1 with 5:23 left in the second. Hershey continues to find power play success as during a 5-on-3, Johansson passes across Royal Road to Nardella, who one-times it, but breaks his stick in the process. The puck trickles down to Mason Morelli at the bottom of the circle. He shoots, gets the rebound, and jams it inside the post. Bears within 1, 3:34 left in the second. Brett Leeson strips the puck off Justin Richards and kicks it to Protas. Protas fires, and Kincaid makes a save, but can't control the rebound. Brett Leeson scoops it up and finds Vecchione in the slot. Vecchione easily taps it over the sprawling Kincaid. Tie game at 3, 11:03 left in the third. Regulation do not give us a winner. OT does not give us a winner. So we head to the skills competition coin flip for a final verdict. Tyroning fakes the shot, pulls it backhand, and tucks it 5-hole past Copley. No one else scores in the shootouts, and the Wolfpack would deny the Bears a 3,000th franchise win for now. Hartford takes it 4-3.
Oh, my heart breaks just for Sean because he's got a meme on the back burner and he cannot use it until they get that 3,000th win. So stay tuned for that. Let's talk picks. Courtney said she thought Providence would win on Friday. They did, but she didn't want to be too mean to Hershey here. She said that they beat Hartford. They did not. Shawnee, you said you think Hartford ultimately wins, but Hershey gives them their money's worth and that the Bears would handle the Wolfpack. Providence did win. The Wolfpack beat the Bears in spite of the Bears' best efforts to come back and win that one. But the model said Providence was the 54.1% favorite on Friday. Hershey was a 51.6% favorite on Saturday. So, Sean, 2 road losses for the Hershey Bears. They have been struggling to generate offense. And in our preview show, you suggested that they look to have defensemen activate more off the blue line. You suggested that they do that and into play. So did Hershey take that advice? If so, what did the Bears offense look like this weekend?
They did not take that advice. No, not a lot of coming off the blue line for the Bears D this weekend. The Bears offense looked a lot like what it's looked like in the past games for quite a stretch here. They at least got something going on the power play, which was nice. A little bit more chemistry. You know, that double drop power play entry, beautifully executed. That's a textbook job well done by the power play there. The Nardella point shot, I'm not thrilled about. Converting 5-on-3, yes, is power play success, but it's not the same thing. It's 5-on-3. But the offense 5-on-5, oof. A lot of ECHLers playing over their heads, making ECHL plays. That's what it looked like, 5-on-5. Dumping and chasing when they don't need to, lacking the awareness in the offensive zone to find guys in the slot or attack the home plate area. Instead, a lot of just working the puck back up to the point for a low percentage shot, or making, routine puck protection mistakes. Mason Morelli had one on a rush chance that had me shaking my head. The Bears also just really did not play with any urgency for long stretches of this weekend. Like someone needed to spike the water bottle with Red Bull or something. Red Bull, not a sponsor of the show. I thought the game against Providence defensively, they at least looked stout, but another one where a lot of let's play dump and chase and hope that works for us. And it didn't. And yes, I realize we're pointing out the obvious here. The Bears have 9 ECHL caliber guys in the lineup. Isn't exactly new analysis or, anything like that, but that doesn't make it less accurate. And for those who were disappointed the Bears didn't make moves at the deadline today, I understand that. But at the same time, I get how they really couldn't. I doubt the Caps would have been willing to part with anyone on an NHL contract, even though there are a couple of guys the Caps are probably best off seeing what they can get for them. But that means the Bears are stuck in dealing AHL contract guys, of which the only really interesting one is Cody Franzen, and I can see how the Bears didn't want to deal him. I obviously dealt him on our trade deadline show, but I understand how the Bears brass was not seeing the same thing there. If they wanted to make future considerations moves, they probably could have, but is that investment going to get them a worthy return? Probably not. And by worthy return, I don't mean the players they got back, but what those players cost to acquire them. If they want to make those future consideration moves, let's say they made the same trades for someone like Richard Panik, or one that I thought was definitely going to go today, Cameron Hebig from Tucson, a guy like that who can be a good scoring addition there, plays center. What does that cost them in future considerations? No idea. It's probably a financial amount, but it could literally be anything. Still, are the Bears a Richard Panik or Cameron Hebig away from a surge up the standings? No, they are not. Even if they grab both of them for future considerations, they're possibly getting out of the first round, but then that's still probably it. They don't have the horses, even with those two guys, those two additions, to feel comfortable going into Providence or Springfield in the next round. So what did you get in return for what is likely a big pile of cash that you parted with to grab both those guys? A second round exit? If that, pass. Hershey's already probably going that route anyway. So I don't think spending a bunch at the deadline here was going to be a move that paid for them in, it paid for itself, if that makes sense.
Right.
To me, though, this comes back to what I said back in July when free agency was happening and the Bears signed 4 toughness guys instead of getting scoring depth. Let this be a reminder when you hear a GM say something like, "Oh, we have enough scorers. We need to go get some grit, some sandpaper for the bottom of the lineup." That's a dumb notion, especially at the AHL level where injuries and call-ups can flip even the deepest of rosters. That, you have a great roster at forward in October, and here we are. Like, that's what we thought we had in Hershey. We thought we had 3 high-end scoring lines in our summer preview. And where are we right now? Man,
Not there.
because I'm absolutely positive if the Bears had Max Latunov, Evan Weinger, and Mitch Reinke instead of Cale Kessie, Eddie Whitkow, and Dylan McElrath, they would be in much better shape now. Those were all summertime free agents that, in theory, they had a shot at, and instead they went for toughness. A toughness and intimidation factor that also did absolutely nothing when Sgarbossa got injured via contact twice. Didn't stand up for him, didn't intimidate anyone from those hits, did sweet nothing.
Well, you mentioned a number of players, and again, the team and the individual look tend to bleed over. And so we're on the other side of the line now. Let's talk about those specific players on the Bears roster. Who stood out to you, both good and bad, this weekend for Hershey? Sean.
So do you want to do good first or you want to do bad first? How do we have some on both sides here. So
give me the bad first and then we can end on a positive note. How's that sound?
I like that. Let's do that. All right.
All right.
On the bad side, Cody Clark has looked lifeless in my viewings of him this season. And that continued right into this weekend. I don't think he's a particularly good penalty killer. He's obviously not producing anything on offense, nor is he even really generating chances. He's only 22, but he has 103 AHL games under his belt and very much seems stuck in neutral. Shane Gersich hasn't had a bad season, but these are games and moments where the Bears need guys like him to elevate their game and find the score sheet at least, every other game, every third game. Gersich has 4 points since Valentine's Day and was a genuine force against the Bears this weekend with a bad penalty kill and some dumb penalties. I don't think it's too shocking. I'm not a fan of Eddie Whitkow's play, but he was extra bad this weekend. Shoves Brazeau into Fucale on Friday, which directly leads to the game-winning goal for the Bruins, a game that was very winnable for them, or at least if nothing else, a game they could have gotten a point by getting to overtime in. Regularly just out of position for Whitkow, chasing hits, not doing much of anything for the positive while he's on the ice besides chasing hits and getting penalties. And as we've just detailed, not doing an intimidation factor to keep guys from injuring Sgarbossa. So really not bringing the things he's supposed to. On the good side, ending on a positive note here, I haven't been a big believer in Beck Mallenstein, for most of his tenure in the AHL, but I'll give him a lot of credit. He was one of the few Bears that looked alive this weekend. He's never going to be someone who wows you with raw skills, but he was out there doing work every shift, and his intensity and work ethic turned into useful pressures in all 3 zones. And that was helpful to the Bears. He was one of the few guys I could point to and be, that was a force for good in both games at just about every shift. He even had a couple flashes of offensive brilliance. Nice spin move in the slot for a scoring chance against Providence that I actually had to stop and rewind and no, that was Beck Mallenstein with that spin move, good sir. Brett Leeson also hasn't had the best season on the score sheet, but damned if he's out there at least creating scoring chances. I think that's the big difference between him and Cody Clark in my mind is both of them have not had the greatest season in terms of production, but Brett Leeson is out there at least giving me the idea he could be putting pucks in the net or could be creating scoring chances. He did have a lovely primary assist to Garrett Pilon on Saturday, but he seemed like he was close to putting 4 or 5 others in over the course of the weekend and just couldn't finish on them. And yeah, I think some of his inability to finish on him is not necessarily bad luck, but also a lack of finishing talent on his part. But he's at least getting to the spaces that you want him to and creating chances that you would want. That's not nothing. And if you can just find a little bit more polish on some of his hands in tight, he probably could have put in 2 goals this weekend. Both Fucale and Copley, I thought, looked solid this weekend weekend too. Copley's stats from the Hartford game obviously don't paint the same picture, but if you watch the game, you'll see that he pretty much was left out to dry in some of those. Fucali has definitely struggled at times this season, but both goalies kept the Bears in these games the best they could, which has been the story of both of them for a little bit now. The Bears have leaned on them to get through this period of roster thinness, if you'll have that, and both have definitely done their part in keeping the Bears afloat to this point. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely can't fault the goaltending. That is a certainty. All right. Well, at least not most of the time. Anyway, looking forward, let's gaze to the future for the Hershey Bears. Sean, tell me, where do the boys from Chocolate Town go from here?
Hershey will start April on a Friday-Saturday series against Charlotte. These two have traded victories back and forth this year. They are 3-3 on the season. Both sides are. Charlotte is 7-3 in its last 10, and they are 18-9-4, so 18-13 at the Bojangles Coliseum. The Bears have just one win in their last 6 games. So that's not great. Charlotte clearly finding its groove even without Owen Tippett. But this is one that if Hershey can at least pull 2 points out of, 2 OTLs or a split, I would consider that to be a positive for them. They just need to tread water here to make it to the playoffs. That should be a very attainable outcome, even with the roster, what it is. But they need to squeak out some points from this weekend coming up against Charlotte. But that is it for our Hershey Bears coverage here. CC, do you have anything to add, or we're going to break?
Well, let's head to break.
All right, then. After the break, we will get to the Toronto Marlies. If you're just here for Hershey, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, make sure you check us out on social media. We have a pretty good time there. You can find links to our social media, all the places you can find our podcast, including our YouTube channel, all of that stuff, plus a couple other extra links in there. That's all on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. We're going to run some ads, pay some bills. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
The Atlantic Division and the Hershey Bears have been recapped, so it's time to move to the north, and let's talk about the Toronto Marlies. Their weekend was Friday at 7:05 p.m. at Rochester, and then Saturday at 4 p.m. versus Bridgeport. They had to jump across the border and get back home so that they could host the Sound Tigers, as it were. Yeah, you've started wearing off on me, Sean. I got to admit it. So
join the resistance.
Join the resistance. Well, we've got some goals, and we got a Friday game and a Saturday game, and we've got a recap, and it's from Sean.
Friday on the power play, Oskari Laaksonen freezes the defense by looking shot, then passing to Sean Malone. Malone walks into the home plate area and fires. Hutchinson makes the initial save, but the rebound deflects off Christian Rubens and goes in. 1-0 Amherst, 9:51 left in the first. Teemu Kevihalme gains the offensive zone under pressure and passes to Alex Steeves on the half wall. Steeves looks like he's going to pass back to the slot, but at the last second rips a wrister high blocker past Rifle, a.k.a. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Tie game at 1, just 30 seconds into the second period. Sean Malone gets the Amherst back on top, though, as Ryan McInnes makes a pass to the slot that ends up on Ethan Prowl's stick at the point. Prowl takes a couple steps and fires a wrister into a sea of humanity at the net front. Malone gets the tip on it and gets it past Hutch. 2-1 Amherst, 10:36 left in the second. The Amherst turn over a puck, and Bobby McMahon goes flying through the neutral zone, puts his shoulder down, drives the net, and roofs one over the shoulder of Rifle, who is paddled down for some reason. Tie game at 2 with 16:09 left in the second period. OT doesn't give us a winner, neither did regulation. So we head to the world of competitive coin flipping, a.k.a. the shootout. Joey Anderson simply skates in a bit wide left, wrists one past the glove of Rifle. Nothing fancy there, but he is the only one that scores. And so the Marlies take it in the shootout. 3-2 is your final. Saturday, not so nice. A clear attempt by the Sound Tigers skips past Curtis Douglas and springs an odd man rush the other way. Kyle McLean finds Grant Hutton across the Royal Road. Hutton makes a smooth catch and fire wrist shot that beats Petruzzelli. There we go.
Hey,
Beats Petruzzelli, low blocker. 1-0 Sound Tigers. 14:21 left in the first. A Grant Hutton point shot off a Joseph Duzak misplay gets tipped by Cole Bardreau. Petruzzelli makes the save, but the rebound comes to Arnaud Durando, who's found soft ice behind Phil Myers. Durando taps it in. 2-0 Sound Tigers. 5:11 left in the first. Less than 15 seconds later, Brett Cini can't cleanly field a pass off the back wall and puts the puck back to Chad Kreese in the corner. Kreese misreads the play behind him and makes a pass directly to Simon Holmstrom at the faceoff dot. Holmstrom one-times that gift over the shoulder of Petruzzelli. 3-0 Sound Tigers. Phil Myers whiffs on a hit on Jeff Kubiak as Kubiak chips it by him for a give and go with Cole Bardreau. Kubiak gets the return pass, drives to the slot, curls and drags past Brancini, and wrists one over the glove of Petruzzelli. 4-0 Sound Tigers with 1:54 left in the first period. Kivi Haume can't corral a clearing attempt by Simon Holmstrom, and Andy Androff outraces Rubens for a breakaway from center ice. Androff makes a simple backhand move and roofs it over Hutchins' sprawled blocker. 5-0 Sound Tigers with 3 minutes left in the second period. Joseph Duzak lifts the stick of Sam Bolduc after a Seth Helgeson misplay to force a turnover in the Sound Tiger zone. Duzak recovers the turnover and finds Robertson across Royal Road for a garbage time goal. 5-1 Sound Tigers just over 6 minutes into the third, but that would be all the scoring. Bridgeport takes Saturday's game 5-1.
yeah, just like we all predicted, right? All right. Speaking of what we all predicted, or at least Courtney and Sean and the model. Courtney said, sometimes I must pick with my heart and not with my brain. Marlies sweep. She was half right. Sean, you said you think you'll go both in overtime, but you were going to take the Amerks Friday and the Marlies on Saturday. Wah, wah, wah. That's the tough thing with those split picks. Sometimes they just don't roll your way. But hey, you and Courtney tied, so it was a wash in the end. The model said Rochester was a 54.9% favorite on Friday, and Toronto was the 52.8% favorite on Saturday. Needless to say, you and the model in cahoots, sharing the L's there.
And both me and the model did not take the travel into consideration, but we'll get there in a minute.
We will get there in a minute. That is for sure. Two very different games from the Marlies against two very different opponents in two different places. So let's break them down separately. In the weekend preview, you said the Marlies needed to get forechecking pressure on the Amerks to take away their speed through the neutral zone. You also said they needed to have good discipline and stay out of the box. How'd that go for the Marlies against Rochester?
Not great. The one unifying piece of the Marlies weekend was definitely weak forechecking, as they did very little to get effective pressure on puck carriers or really slow the play down through the neutral zone at all. The Marlies looked like they were in for a rough one after the first period when they took two bad penalties, gave up a power play goal, and a period that they otherwise outshot and outchanced the Amerks 5-on-5. Don't get me wrong, that was a fluky power play goal by the Amerks, but they all count the same, and I'm sure it was one that you don't want to be going into the second intermission down 1-0 because you took bad penalties. But that was where the Marlies were, though. Still, I thought they were pretty easily the better team in this game. They outshot the Amerks 30-28, outchanced them 13-11. And they managed to keep the Amerks scoring chances pretty well limited to their scoring chances and zone, like offensive actual possessions in the offensive zone, limited to not too much except for the Quinn Peterka and mostly Jankowski line. And well, yeah, that's a very good line. You're going to have trouble defending that line. But they were the only ones that really seemed to be doing the offense for Rochester. Sean Malone obviously scored two goals, but like in terms of sustaining pressure, generating quality scoring chances, that was what drove it for the Amerks. And the Marlies did a pretty good job of keeping everyone else at bay. I thought the defense played reasonably well. The Robertson, Abramov, Hosang line were absolutely spectacular in moments. A good win for the Marlies, able to overcome mistakes, take down a win that they definitely needed in a game that I felt like they were the better team. And it's always kind of demoralizing to lose games in which you knew you should have won, that you were the better team and just couldn't get a break, especially in one where you kind of, shot yourself in the foot with bad penalties early on. So I think this was, if nothing else, at least a little bit of a morale booster for the Marlies here. But a game that there are errors and areas in need that they need to improve on. That forecheck, like I said, both games this weekend, very ineffective. Something that needs to be corrected for by the coaching staff going forward. But overall, not a game I was too hard on the Marlies for. I thought by and large they played a pretty decent game.
Speaking of not a decent game for the Marlies, we go to Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. And that was certainly a different story, wasn't it? The Marlies hosted Bridgeport for a 4 p.m. game at the Coca-Cola Coliseum. What was the defining factor here for the Marlies, Sean?
Well, the Amerks game ended around 9:30 p.m. I want to say 9:37 to be exact. You factor in showers, post-game meal, maybe some media, probably about 10:30 by the time the team is on the bus pulling out of the arena in Rochester. It's about 3 hours from Rochester back to Toronto via bus with, immigration and maybe a pee break. So that puts them back in Toronto at about 1:30 in the morning. So a 4 p.m. puck drop, the game on the day after with that travel against a team that's had 2 days of rest. Yeah, this is going to go great. Oh, and Joseph Duszak is playing winger, and there are 5 left-handed Ds in the lineup. So this is about as close to a scheduled loss as you're going to see for the Marlies. And that's what it was for the Marlies. An absolute slop fest. Just mental mistake after mental mistake after mental mistake. Defense playing pucks to no one. Forwards not having the legs to complete back checks. A complete burn the tape style game for the Marlies, as I lost count at 15 for the moments that I hit pause watching this game and said out loud, "What the hell are you doing?" Which most of a fair number of those were directed at one Marlie in particular, who we'll get to. But I felt bad for Petrozelli, who got yanked in this game after 2 periods, because the Marlies did not do anything to help him out at all. Clearly an exhausted team playing a well-rested team, and they played down to that fatigue and then some. Let's transition to individual players here, shall we?
Yes. Yeah, like we did with the Hershey Bears before this. We're going to talk about the good. We're going to talk about the bad. And we're gonna talk about who stood out in those ways for the Marlies. After you.
First and foremost, we need to talk about the newest Marlie and Philip Myers here. He was fine-ish on Friday. Some decent plays in the offensive zone. Some moments where his clear lack of foot speed got the best of him. But still, nothing that stood out to me as I'm like, my God, what is he doing? New system, new teammates, some very clear feeling out process from him Friday night. But overall, I was fine with him. Saturday, Philip Myers was the patient zero of mind-numbing mistakes. He made an ungodly number of mental errors in this game and was truly a driving force for the Sound Tigers win. I know he probably isn't up to speed with the system and all of that, and it was the only right-handed defenseman in the game for the Marlies, but I don't know how you don't bench him for the third period if you're the coaching staff there. Like, he was that disastrous. I mean, there were at least 5 pucks I think he played up the wall to no one. Like, he played just pucks, rim arounds to no one. Like, there wasn't anyone within 20 feet in blue for that puck. And he's just firing it around. And he had time. Like, he made a lot of mistakes where he was not under direct pressure, where he had a second to pick his head up or look over his shoulder and, evaluate the scene behind him or near him. And he just didn't. Also, Joseph Duszak should probably never play winger again. I mean, he was just floating all over the place, especially in the defensive zone. I mean, I've seen Patrick Laine play a more gritty and technical defensive game in his own end than Duszak did on Saturday, which is at least somewhat startling, as Duszak is a defenseman. You would think, if nothing else, he would probably be too defensive in his own end and get caught, being down defending home plate instead of up defending the wings or defending the points where he's supposed to be. And nope, that's not what he was doing at all. He was nowhere to be found in the defensive zone most of the time, just kind of merrily floating about, looking for a breakout pass to start transition. He was just a blown defensive coverage machine against the Sound Tigers. On the positive side, both Hosang and Robertson looked on another level at times this weekend. They had some rushes, some scoring opportunities that they created that were just beautiful. But they have moments too where they need to work on puck management to different extents. Hosang way more so than Robertson, but still so many moments where Hosang gets the puck and it's like he thinks he's Mario who just got a star and can just run through guys, willy-nilly. And then he realizes he can't and he makes a turnover trying to deke through 4 guys. Don't get me wrong. Hosang has amazing puck skills and can legitimately turn fools inside out, but he needs to stop trying to do it every time he touches the puck. His game and attitude have taken big strides forward this season, but this overhandling the puck, trying to deke through guys every time, still seems to be, hanging on in his game, and it has been since juniors. The worst is, I think maybe Nick Robertson might be picking it up a bit, as he had a few sequences like that as well, where it's just like, you stop trying to make Sports Center and just make the right play here. Like, he had one turnover in the defensive zone where he tried to dance around a forechecker for no reason, got stripped, and immediately the Sound Tigers generate a scoring chance. And it's like, you should know better than that. On the complete positive side, very pleased from what I've seen from Bobby McMahon, both this weekend and in my viewings of him this season. More on Friday than Saturday, but he's another guy on this Marlies team who can create offense from nothing. And that's an important factor to have someone, especially too, is they can put him in on the third line and have him match up against third liners in the AHL. Good luck, everyone else. I've seen what this Marlies team can do when they're on and they're clicking and can just roll scoring line after scoring line after scoring line. And it's scary. And McMahon is part of that. But this is also a team too who clearly has some issues playing 60 minutes on a regular basis. Clearly one that also plays, like we talked about in the preview, a high energy, high tempo game that is wearing them down. I think we said they played 19 games in 31 days in March. I don't care who you are. You show up to that many games, you're going to be exhausted by this point. And that is a lot of what we're seeing. The games that they have 2 days of rest or so going into, they look much sharper than when they have to play the second game of a back-to-back. Like, those are the moments in which you can see fatigue brain set in and they just look abysmal.
Well, and guess what? They're not done. They still have a couple games in March. So with that said, we're going to look forward to what the Marlies have on the horizon. Shawnee, where do the Marlies venture onward from this past weekend? That was worded kind of odd, but yeah, where are they going?
AHL Toronto has a good old Tuesday, Wednesday twofer against Abbotsford and a Friday, Saturday set versus Manitoba. So they're keeping it in country. The Marlies head to Abbotsford as the Canucks host Toronto for the first time in their brief history. Abbotsford has 2 wins in 2 games against Toronto and Ontario this year. Abbey beat Toronto 6-4 on March 2nd, then 3-0 shutout on March 9th. Abbotsford is 6-4 in their last 10 and currently 5th in the Pacific Division. Toronto and Manitoba have only played each other twice this season. A 5-1 victory in Toronto, 5-1 Toronto victory on October 16th, which feels like an eternity ago, and a 5-0 win on October 17th. Again, does that even still count as this season technically? Both teams are close to 500 in their last 10 games played. Toronto is exactly 5-5. Manitoba is 5-2-3, which I count as being 5-5. Wins are wins, losses are losses. Marlies are 3rd in the North. Moose are sitting at 2nd in the Central. So some all Canada affairs, but still a lot of travel for the Marlies, again, on top of what is already an exhausting schedule. So Godspeed to them.
Seriously. Yeah, let's go to BC Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll pack our stuff. We'll get over to Manitoba and play a Friday, Saturday. Why not? Or no, a Friday, Sunday, but still, that's a ridiculous.
At least it's on the way back. So they got that going for them, but
which is
nice. I'm hoping they're flying to that Abbotsford game, right? Like, there's no way they're busing it literally through the entire country of Canada.
No, you can't imagine. I mean, no, absolutely not.
All right. Well, that is it for the Marlies portion of our show. We're going to take a break here. After the break, we are going to go to Iowa. In theory, we're just going to talk about it. We're not actually going to go there. If you're just listening for the Toronto Marlies, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media. All of the links to our social media, our podcast catchers that you can find us on, our YouTube channel, some other stuff as well, can be found on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. We're going to run some ads, pay some bills. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
Eastern Conference is behind us. We're going to talk Western Conference. We're going to talk Central Division with the Iowa Wild and recap their weekend. That was Friday, 7 p.m. versus Rockford, Sunday, 3 p.m. against the Chicago Wolves. So hosting Rockford and Chicago in alternating days, Friday, skip a day Saturday, and then Sunday. All right, we got some goals to talk about. Enough about who they're facing. Let's talk about what happened on the ice.
Friday, Alex Regula puts a shot from the point on the net. Zane McIntyre can't control the rebound, and Brett Conley wins a net front battle over Turner Ottenbreit and whacks the rebound home 1-0 with under a minute left in the first period. Rockford whiffs on a forecheck, and Iowa gets a rush chance going the other way. Dominic Turgeon finds Mitchell Chaffee on an east-west pass as the Wild enter the zone. Chaffee fires a shot that Soderblom stops, but Beckman finds the rebound and buries it. Tie game at 1, just 1:08 into the second period. The Iowa power play works the puck around the horn from Rossi to Addison to Chaffee. Rockford isn't prepared to cover, and Chaffee walks into the home plate area and fires just as Rao eclipses Soderblom's line of vision. 2-1 Wild with just over 12 minutes left in the second period. Kalen Addison collects a rebound at the Wild net front and makes a heads-up play off the boards towards Bryce Gervais. Gervais lifts the stick of Ryan Stanton to let the puck go through into the neutral zone and is off to the races. Gervais snaps one under the blocker of Soderblom. 3-1 Wild, 8:35 left in the second period. Evan Barrett tips a breakout pass into the neutral zone and narrowly avoids a penalty as he muscles past Kalen Addison to create a rush chance with Cam Morrison. Barrett risks one from the faceoff dot that beats McIntyre high glove side. 3-2 Wild with 6:52 left. A fluky bounce off a faceoff has the puck land on the inner slot where Kyle Rao gets a stick on it and just roofs it past Arvid Soderblom for a power play goal. 4-2 Wild with 2:29 left in the second. As the Iowa power play expires, Dylan McLaughlin drives down the wall and gets below the goal line. McLaughlin backhands a pass to Evan Barrett at the net front, and Barrett outbattles Turner Ottenbreit to redirect the pass over the blocker of Zane McIntyre. 4-3 Wild with just under 13 minutes left in the third. Lucas Reichel walks in the offensive zone and rings a wrister off the post. McLaughlin gets the rebound and rims it below the goal line for Reichel. Reichel weaves a pass into the slot through 2 Iowa defenders and finds Brett Conley, who snaps it 5-hole. Tie game at 4 with 3:04 left in regulation. In overtime, Josiah Slavin loses an edge on a rush chance, and Mitchell Chaffee scoops the puck up and goes 2-on-1 with Marco Rossi. Chaffee looks past the entire way and then rifles a laser beam over the glove of Soderblom. Wild take it in overtime on Star Wars night, 5-4. Then Sunday. The Wild over pursue on the penalty kill as both Kyle Rao and Cody McLeod pressure the point, leaving the Royal Road passing lane open. Joey Keane dishes it to the right half wall for Josh Levo, who finds Podorowski across that open Royal Road lane for the one-timer. 1-0 Wolves, 5:15 left in the first. Jamison Reach catches the pass in the neutral zone and gets the counterattack going for the Wolves. He gains the zone, cuts to the slot, turns the corner on Lazat, dekes past Churchman and risks one from the slot over the glove of Barabo for the highlight reel finish. 2-0 Wolves, 14:12 left in the second. The Wild respond just 41 seconds later as Dominic Turgeon cleanly wins a faceoff back to Mitchell Chaffee. Adam Beckman runs a pick on Kevin Fitzgerald, and Joey Keane isn't able to adjust in time. Chaffee fires a bullet through the open shooting lane and scores. 2-1 Wolves. 2-1 Wolves. The Wolves head back to the power play off a Marco Rossi holding call. David Gust works the puck from the half wall to Jesper Sellgren at the point. Sellgren takes a few strides across the blue line before wristing one that sneaks through a layered screen that Max Latunov gets a tip on and beats Barabo. 3-1 Wolves with 7:54 left in the third. The Wild respond again as Nolan Stevens battles through the neutral zone and finds Beckman on the offensive zone entry. Beckman drops it for Dakota Mermis. Mermis walks in the slot, finds the trailer in Mitchell Chaffee. Chaffee unleashes an absolute missile past Kochikov for a power play goal. 3-2 with 5:47 left in the third. Just over 2 minutes later, the Wolves answer back. Suzuki works the puck up the wall to Keane at the point. Keane fires a prayer into the sea of humanity at the net front. It gets blocked, but Max Latunov wins the battle for the rebound and sweeps it into the net. 4-2 Wolves, 3:42 left in the third. Jack Drury hits the empty netter, and that's the final. 5-2 Chicago for a split weekend for Iowa.
Yep, and facing off against Chicago, not a big surprise because Chicago's Chicago. But let's get to the picks. Let's see what you and Courtney and the model had to say about this series. Courtney said, ugh. She literally typed out UGH, ugh, and said, well, the last time the Ice Hawks had a 4-game win streak, it began with a win over Iowa. Then they went 1-6 in their next 7 games. She said, anyway, I think it's the reverse this time. Sadly, Iowa ends Rockford's streak. Then Chicago takes it personally and avenges their I-90 rivals' defeat with a win over Iowa on Sunday. Yeah, she was right. She got it right. So, Sean, you said you thought Iowa gets to overtime in both, but loses both games. They did take the one against Rockford, so you were half right. Iowa was a 50.6% favorite on Friday. Chicago, a 51.6% favorite on Sunday. So the model
was on it. Yep.
Model was
not listening to the thing I program.
Right, exactly. But speaking of listening, slot and Lizotte and back to the slot, it seemed like a little bit of a Dr. Seuss rhyme when you're talking about that.
Yeah, did not plan that at all. Just kind of worked out that way.
It did, and it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. So let's talk team level takeaways. Okay, a split weekend here for the Wild with games that felt quite different. Let's go one by one, shall we? On the preview, you said that Iowa needed to avoid chasing the game and playing into the Ice Hawks' strength, which was lockdown defense. How did that go for the Wild?
Reasonably well. They managed to get back to a tie pretty much immediately at the start of the second. Rockford scored, right at the end of the first period. So it's not like they got to, really try and do any, let's win this game 1-0 with 2 periods left shenanigans. Iowa ties it right back up. They end up blowing that lead to give Rockford a loser point for getting to OT. Both goals they gave up were weak defense in the high danger areas, which is troubling. Ottenbright losing net front battles to Brett Connolly and Evan Barrett when, both guys he is much larger and at least in theory physically stronger than. So that shouldn't be happening, but here we are. Lucas Reichel getting a pass through 2 Wild defenders, arguably 3, to Connolly at the goal mouth. Not a great look for the Wild. Those are definitely infuriating moments for Tim Army, as neither of those goals should be able to happen. But I feel like in general, the game plan we outlined worked pretty well for them. Don't let, Rockford gain too much of an advantage. Don't chase the game. I thought the Wild were the better team in this game too, which makes it all the more troublesome that they were basically saved by a Josiah Slavin blown tire in overtime. That's lots to worry about in this win, but I still think they were the better team. Another thing to worry about, Zane McIntyre, I feel like every time we've seen him, one of the notes I make is can't control rebounds. He couldn't control a rebound to save his life. Had a couple hit him in the chest protector that should have just been an easy, smothering save right on the logo, and they're flying out into the slot. And that's going to get you burnt. Especially as he's pretty clearly the goalie that they're going to ride should they make the playoffs. I don't think Hammond is coming back. Baribeau has not found the game that it looked like he had last year. Hunter Jones isn't good, so it's pretty clearly going to be Zano Mack here. Still, the Rossi Rouse Shaw line was dominant. The power play looked much improved. A lot of good chances generated in both games by the power play, but this one in particular. It's still, I thought the Wild by and large controlled the flow of the game. Did a lot of little things well, like getting going in transition. They definitely had big breakdowns on defense, though, which thankfully Rockford didn't take advantage of more often. But that was not true of Chicago, who did take advantage of that.
Yes. And with that, let's transition to that game against the Wolves. This was a 2-1 game that felt very close going into the third period. It ended 5-2, though. So what was the big story of this game for the Iowa Wild, Sean?
Very much the flow of this game was about penalties. The Wild couldn't stay out of the box, and Chicago ran amok on the power play for much of the first period, which was the opposite to what our key to this game was for the weekend preview. We said, don't take penalties. The Wolves power play is very good. The Wild then drew some penalties and were able to dominate play for stretches of the second period. Still through the whole game, though, the Wolves executed better 5-on-5, and we said that taking penalties against the Wolves would severely dampen the Wild's chances of winning, and it sure did, especially with how poorly they played on the penalty kill. I mean, woof. Cody McLeod should not be on the penalty kill. He's not very good at understanding the interchange between the rover and the top of the wedge in their check press formation. And for those Wild fans out there who are not familiar with that terminology, the check press is the defensive structure that the Wild and nearly every team uses on the penalty kill. Basically, you make a little triangle in the front of the net. So you have two defensemen like right at the top of the crease. And then you have one forward that's like right in the slot area. They make a nice little triangle. And then you have one guy who's basically his job is to kind of chase the puck around the outside. He's trying to funnel the puck down to the corners so that they can all collapse on him. And that rover guy will interchange with the forward that's the top of the wedge. And that's where Cody McLeod keeps screwing up, is that he thinks that he's supposed to be the rover and the other guy thinks he's supposed to be the rover. And I'm pretty sure it's McLeod's the one who's getting it wrong, because he's the one that is in the wedge and then pressing when the puck is still close to the guy who's playing the rover. If you go back and watch a lot of their penalty kill, he does this repeatedly, where it's him and the other forward making pressures at the point that open up that Royal Road passing lane. And that was exactly what happened on the Podorowski one-timer from Josh Levo on the half wall. Is Keane saw that, puts it to Levo. Levo sees this, lane across the Royal Road that you could drive a truck through, puts it right across to Podorowski. Podorowski one-times it. Zanomak has no chance at that puck at all. Or sorry, that's Derek Baribeau. Baribeau has no chance at that puck. So that's and that was repeated. He did that against the Ice Hogs too. They had the same problems, but you didn't see Rockford take advantage of it, probably because of the way their penalty kill is, or their power play is structured. They don't have, heads up puck movers like Levo and Podorowski. It's pretty much Reichel's show.
And
sorry,
go ahead. No.
I was going to say, yeah, that's something that you would think would be fixable with repeated, film study and stuff. But I saw it time and time again from McLeod on the penalty kill, and that leads me to believe this isn't the first time. This isn't the first weekend he's doing goofy stuff like that.
You mentioned McIntyre. You also mentioned Baribeau. You mentioned Hammond as well. He actually got traded to Montreal on February 12th.
That's right.
Yes, I know. It can be easy. And now he's on the Devils. Then he got a deadline deal from Montreal to New Jersey. The Nate Shard deal. So
I knew he wasn't coming back. I got that part right.
There you go. You did get that part right. All right. Well, speaking of individuals and, individual players and everything, we're going to get into the more focused part of this, and not just talking about the team, but talking about the individuals on the ice. So let's transition into that. Sean, who stood out for you at the player level during these two games for Iowa?
Lazat and Churchman both had a mostly bad weekend, in my opinion. I say mostly bad because they made some good plays in the D zone. Lazat blocked a very clear high danger scoring chance in the slot. Churchman made a couple good plays in transition. They weren't, complete forces for bad for Iowa this weekend, but definitely weekends that I was not thrilled with. Both had moments where they just looked bad. The Reese goal, obviously a highlight for sure, as he walked both of them. But they were, by and large, not a good pairing for the Wild this weekend and were giving up more than they were taking. I feel bad for Gervais, who isn't that bad in his own right, but is routinely saddled with McLeod and Panick, who are ineffective at best and black holes at worst. Neither do more than really take bad penalties, chase hits, and physical grindy grit stuff after the whistle. And that's really not going to put the puck in the net, which is what Iowa needs more of, guys who can score. While the Rossi Rouse Shaw line is what drives the bus for the Wild right now, they do have three solid scoring lines, but this was a team that I felt like needed to make the trades that Chicago did today. Shore up defense, grab some depth scoring, because that's what's going to sink them, even if they do make the playoffs. And that continues to be in jeopardy for them because, Joe Hickett's not in the lineup for them this week. I like Kalen Addison, Lazat and Churchman less so, but they need more solid depth defensemen. They need, guys like Brandon Baddock and Cody McLeod to not be in the lineup, but Tim Armey's going to keep trotting them out there because Tim Armey seems to have a minimum 1.5 goon rule for every team that he bench bosses, which Tim Armey seems like he's a good coach, but he definitely has some things that he does where I just look and I shake my head. I'm like, but why? That's not doing it for you. And yet he keeps doing them. So him, insisting on having it like 1.5 goons per team is one of them where it's just like, those guys aren't bringing anything to the roster. Like, you can tell me leadership and all that stuff, but you can go get leadership in free agency that also can put the puck in the net. Cody McLeod can't. Brandon Panik definitely can't. They're goons, and they're not doing anything useful.
Oof. Well, all right. Well, looking forward, let's talk and let's see how do we see. Wow, that was rough. Let's look beyond this weekend and see how Iowa is going to be wilding out this coming week.
Not with Nick Cannon, but I appreciate it. Iowa is headed to actually, maybe with Nick Cannon, they're headed to California, which feels like an April Fool's Day joke, but somehow has actually been on the schedule for months. The Wild will be traveling to San Diego, which is German for whale's vagina. They'll be taking on the Gulls this Friday and Saturday. Iowa is 2-0 against. Iowa has played San Diego this year already, which. Yeah, I realize that was in January, but still, it's crazy when it's like, oh yeah, a Pacific Division team. They do exist. They won those 3-2 and 6-1 at home, January 20th, 29th. San Diego is running hot though. They're 7-3 in their last 10, including 2 victories against Ontario and score fest boat race 7-5 loss to Stockton. You can put 5 goals on Stockton. You can create offense on anybody's team.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
CC, would you like to take us to break?
I can do that. Yeah, we're gonna take a brief respite here, and after we pause, we're gonna get to Grand Rapids and Bakersfield. Grand Rapids at Bakersfield. You want to talk about Central Division teams going to the Pacific Division? Grand Rapids already did it, so Iowa's just following suit against San Diego this coming weekend. But if you're just here for Iowa, speaking of the Wild, thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from, so that you can get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media. Links to our social media, as well as links to our YouTube channel and popular podcast links, can be found at our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. And I'm not going to spell that out for you because you're here and we hope you know how to spell that. All right, we're going to go pay some bills because Sean likes to keep traveling internationally over there in Calgary. Why can't I go to Calgary sometime, Sean?
That's not my decision.
All of our money goes to your travel budget. We're going to have a talk during break. We'll be right back.
And we're back. We're on the best coast, the West Coast. We're talking one West Coast team anyway, and one that got lost on its way. On its way. Grand Rapids at Bakersfield is the weekend series we're talking about. They played Friday, Saturday at the Mechanics Bank Arena in Bakersfield. Some goals were scored. CC, run me down the box score. Who scored and why?
I will do my best to make this quick because there was a lot of them, especially on Friday. So in the first minute or so of play, Jonathan Bergeron and Dominic Shine break out on a 2-on-1 saucer pass over a laid-out Bako defender stick. Initially saved puck by Stuart Skinner, but it trickles in after Shine drives it home. 1-0 Grand Rapids at 1:07 of the first period. Bako answers later in the frame. A Philip Berglund shot from range is deflected in front. Seth Griffith gets the rebound, turns around, and wrists it by Victor Bratstrom to tie it 1-1 at 13:14 of period 1. Grand Rapids on only the second power play of the game as we go to the second period. Seth Barton fires a wrister from the blue line through traffic, and it's good. It doesn't hit anybody. 13:33 of the second. Griffins are up 2-1. Dmitry Samorukov lobs a shot on net from the left wing blue line later on. Bratstrom's save, but a rebound on the doorstep from Condors forward Brendan Perlini. He lifts it past the goalie to make it 2-2, and we have a tie game at 16:49 of period 2. Brad Malone passes to the high slot from behind the net. He finds Perlini, who risked his second consecutive goal at 19:32 of the middle regulation frame. We now have a 3-2 lead for Bako. Just 10 seconds of game time later, Jared McIsaac tries to pass it behind the goal line to a teammate, Grand Rapids skater, but it takes a weird bounce off the side of the net and it puts the puck in front of the goal. Colton Seviwa is there on the doorstep to make it 4-2 Condors with just 18 seconds left in the second period. They'd carry that into the third period. And let's talk third period. Perlini pins a Grand Rapids defender against the boards in the Griffins zone. Adam Cracknell swoops in to grab the puck, then centers to an incoming Cooper Marody for the wrister and a goal at 9:07 of the third period. It is now 5-2 Condors. A minute and a half of game time later, on the power play, Yanni Caldis fed a pass to Marody in front, quick feed over to Brad Malone, and the tap-in. It gives Bakersfield a 6-2 lead at 10:35 of period 3. 4 unanswered goals for Bakersfield. A Grand Rapids power play yielded, you guessed it, a Riley Barber wrist shot goal from the right wing faceoff circle at 17:56. But with another Bako goal from Benson to James Hamblin to Seth Griffith at 19:45, yes, Bradstrom was in net with 15 seconds left to go in the game. That would be your final. 7-3, Condors win decisively. Bumping over to Saturday, a little bit closer affair. First score comes late in the first. Bako on the power play. Dylan Holloway fakes out a defender, drives in, and passes to Marody on the doorstep. Tap, tap, tap-a-rooney. And that's a goal for a 1-0 lead at 17:26 of the first. We go to the second regulation frame now, and guess who? It's Holloway. Once again, another nifty setup pass. This time backhanding one to Malone on the doorstep to make it 2-0 Condors at 1:35 of period 2. Grand Rapids responds in short order. Shine passes it to John Martin behind the left wing goal line. This was a weird goal. Martin puts the puck into the skates of Berglund. It deflects off of his skates and past an unsuspecting Stuart Skinner. Now 2-1 Bako ahead only by 1 at 1:59 of the second period. Griffins again later with Jan Drozg having a pass deflected over the net, dropping right in front of Skinner. Before it hit the ice, Shine exhibiting some great hand-eye coordination, batting it out of the midair. He ties it 2-2 at 9:08 of the second. Bakersfield back before the end of the stanza, though. Perlini on the break, nifty forehand to backhand, and puts it by Bradstrom rather, for a 3-2 lead at 14:06, period number 2. We go into the third now. We go into the final minute with the Griffins on the power play. The Grand Rapids Griffins on the power play. They pull Bradstrom for a 6-on-4 advantage. Barber puts a shot on net from his right wing office. The former Colorado Eagle himself, Josh Dickinson, gets a stick on it to put it by the goaltender with 22 seconds left in the game. You have a 3-3 game, and we go to overtime. Grand Rapids, in dramatic fashion, pushing it to overtime and onto the extra period of play. In the second minute of gameplay, Barber, of course, skates on the right wing side. Big surprise there. He hesitates, he toe drags, and he deploys a wrist shot right by Moonshine to complete the unlikely comeback. Grand Rapids splits the weekend with a 4-3 win over Bakersfield on Saturday night.
Wow.
Did I take you for the ride?
Yeah. I was about to say, it seemed like I should have given you one of the other series to cover this weekend. You got a good one.
I sure did.
All right. Pics recap. Courtney was baffled like we all have been. A Central Division team playing a non-Central Division team. What universe are we in? She wanted to prove that the Central was superior, but she needed the Griffs to lose. She went with a split. She said Griffins Friday as the Ice Hogs lose to make her nervous, and then the Condors come back with a win Saturday. She got the order wrong there. I said Grand Rapids at least gets OT in one of them, which I was right about.
Yes, you were.
But the Condors sweep. So I got half right. The model was with me on a Condor sweep. Bakersfield almost a 60% favorite. And they had to do some work to blow that second one there. So I at least feel, justified by the model there. Team level takeaways. Pace of play was the big concern going into this series. This was the big key to the series we covered last episode. Bakersfield looking to dial up, play fast, play loose. Griffins looking to do everything in their power to make this a slow, grinding, ugly game, prevent that high-octane offense from taking shape. Tell me about pace of play here. Who got their way this weekend in Bakersfield?
I'd say for the most part, Bakersfield did. I mean, they really, Grand Rapids was there to meet them because that's how kind of the Griffins are built. Yeah, they are built a little not super fast by any means, but they kind of blend speed and physicality from the games that I've watched. They blend those two things pretty well. But yeah, Bakersfield, they played their game, and especially on Friday. I mean, obviously, with the football score of 7-3 on the ice there. Yeah, Bakersfield, they just were clicking on all cylinders. They were making those long outlet passes. There was a number of times where they made, one of the goals, the goal from behind the goal line to a streaking, player coming up the middle in the slot on the power play. They executed their special teams really well. And, Grand Rapids defense just bit a lot. There was a lot of screenshots I took where, one skater would draw 2 or 3 other skaters to him from Grand Rapids. One Bakersfield skater would draw 2 or 3 other guys. And, it was painful to see how quick the Griffins were to bite on that. So yeah, like I said, Grand Rapids defense caught sleeping on a fair amount of goals, both Friday and Saturday. Condors attackers, just taking advantage of all that space, making up, Baco's too good of a team for that lackadaisical defense. They made the Griffins pay over and over again on Friday. Like I said, on Griffith's goal, especially 4 defenders surrounding him, 1 tied up, 3 puck watching. Griffith's just right there in the slot. I can go on and on. Power play, Malone drew 4 defenders down low before threading a long pass to Perlini up the middle, like I said earlier. And then Saturday, Holloway was just finding his teammates left and right on those first 2 goals. Bakersfield came to play their game, and if it weren't for a last-minute goal on Saturday, they would have swept the weekend. Also, those 2 fluke goals. Griffins were putting on good shots, but they were having no puck luck on Friday. But Saturday, the tides turned, and they had a weird bounce off of the skates in front off Berglund, and then they had another pass from a Bakersfield guy that just dropped right in front of Skinner. It was just in the cards for Grand Rapids to get that second game. You know how it goes. The puck luck is not it doesn't discern between teams. That's what I'm trying to say. So anyway, Grand Rapids, good share of quality chances this weekend, though. In spite of the bad puck luck on Friday and the poor puck luck on Saturday, or the good puck luck on Saturday, sorry. They nailed down their defensive efforts more a little bit on Saturday too, so they didn't get boat raced again. But yeah, their offensive output was pretty well even keel through both games. Bakersfield even had Nima Leinen out celebrating the birth of his child. And Berglund kind of made a major mistake on that first Grand Rapids goal on Friday, but after that he settled in pretty well. That was his replacement, by the way, was Berglund. So, but yeah, still could only capitalize on Saturday's matchup. Grand Rapids could. So Baco's a good team. They're a kind of a sneaky good team. They've got some surprising depth.
Yeah, they do. And we kind of talked about that a little bit on the Friday show of, Bakersfield is, I feel like in that 3 to 5 mix where like they're in there with Abbotsford. I don't think they're as good as Stockton or as good as Ontario is, or at least when Ontario has Ontario's team and not insert ECHL team here. Stockton. Like if they're not the Calder Cup favorite, it's them in Chicago and it's maybe Utica, but maybe. I don't think they're in that class in Bakersfield, but they're good. They're a good team. They could surprise somebody in the first round. But I think at the end of the day, they don't have the horses to keep up with Stockton, but still they could. Hockey's weird. We see lots of goofy surprises like that.
Moonshine is also
they can unleash the power of moonshine. They might be able to pull off some upsets and go places. They have a lot of good pieces there. Courtney and I discussed the return of Riley Barber this past month after having last played on New Year's Day. What was the story with Riley Barber? Did the Grand Rapids power play step up to accommodate his ability to just stand in one, be AHL Ovechkin? That is the role that he is good at, and was frustrating to see doing the preview that like, no, but what if we move him all over the formation? No, don't get cute. You're not doing good. Like, put him in one spot and just find ways to get him pucks. Is that what you saw from Grand Rapids, or was this another frustrating, what are we doing here?
Yeah. I do watch the episodes that I'm not there for. And I did see that Ovechkin reference, and I do wish that Grand Rapids would do that more often. Their first power play on Friday, guess who was not on the ice on that first line?
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
No, I didn't
Like,
see
are we
number
talking if
11
they
out
just
there.
started the second unit, or this was Chris
I don't know.
Paolo and Hirose and
Well, Hirose's up with Detroit.
okay.
So yeah, but I don't know if they just started with the second unit or what, but I mean, with your first power play of the game, like you would think you'd want to make a statement. You'd think you'd want Riley Barber out there because he scored a power play goal on Friday. And if he scored that earlier, think of how much that would have changed the tide. But yeah, I mean, when Grand Rapids decides, and they did end up deploying him on the first, when they would get the power play, they would put him out there on the first line. They learned from their mistake, I guess, but it's like, why didn't you do that in the first place? You have Riley Barber, for crying out loud. And, I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, possibly, probably, but when given time and space, the man makes the right wing his home office. He Ovechkins it, as you said, and he picked up right where he left off, playing the whole month of March after taking January and February to heal up. 5 goals, 8 assists in 13 games played in March. He was held scoreless in only 4 of those 13 games. He also had 2 goals and 2 assists in 3 games this weekend. Yeah, Grand Rapids played Ontario on Sunday. Don't forget about that. They did unfortunately lose by a goal, but I digress. Yeah, Riley Barber, the Griffins had some shortages to deal with. Wachowski got traded to St. Louis/Springfield at the deadline. Like I mentioned earlier, Taro Hirose was up with Detroit. So was Chase Pearson. They were both called up to Detroit. So Grand Rapids a little thin. Yeah, a little thin, little bit. But, someone had to step up. Barber did. Don't get me wrong. He has been helping this team all along, really helping to carry the load. But he really had to carry the load with some of the big players gone. And again, some fluky bounces, some good hand-eye coordination by Dominic Shine, and Saturday's game could have gone a little different. But yeah, like I said, Barber contributing on the score sheet. I believe he had 2 goals and 1 assist in Friday's game, or maybe it was Saturday, or maybe it was just the weekend set. I can't remember, but yeah, he had a fair amount of points, contributed quite a bit. Grand Rapids needs to just hitch the wagon to him and put him in that right wing faceoff circle, because when he can't miss, like it really seems like he can't miss from that area.
Like that should be the foundation of their power play. Is Riley Barber stands in one spot, the barber's chair. And the other 4 guys, their only goal is to figure out how to get him a puck that he can one time, whether it's from the point or whether it's directly across Royal Road. That should be it. That's the whole, and they're like, oh, well, they'll just stand someone next to Riley Barber, so we can't do that. I'm like, teams have been trying to do that with Ovechkin for how long? Okay, they do that. Then that means Chris Cuolo in the bumpers, wide ass open. Cool. We'll just start feeding him pucks. This is that was what was so frustrating doing the preview, is watching their film, and it's like, what are we doing? Why? All right. Yeah. Any other closing thoughts on the weekend here? Bakersfield, Grand Rapids, mythical bird versus actual bird. Any?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the fact that Bakersfield, I mean, it's not like a impressive, jaw-dropping depth, but Perlini, haven't really gotten to watch him at length, but he had 3 assists this weekend. He really showed, or not 3 assists. I'm thinking of, who am I thinking of? The guy that was assisting on Saturday's goals. Holloway. Holloway had 3 assists. Yes, thank you. Sorry, I'm getting those 2 mixed up. But I mean, Holloway is a great facilitator. Perlini's a good, he can score. He can feed the puck. Brad Malone's there. Cooper Marody. I know we kind of touted these guys last season, and it's, I don't know. It's just Bakersfield they're sneaky. Like you said, they could sneak up and upset somebody in that first round or second round.
I think, yeah, the first round 2 in the Pacific is going to be tough, because the only teams that I can really look at and be like, that's not a good team is, well, Henderson right now, because they have no goaltending. Henderson literally starting SPHL goaltenders this weekend. That's never going to get it done. When I saw that, I was like, that can't be the same Dylan Kelly, right? No, it's the same Dylan Kelly who I remember from my days in Macon. Mm-hmm. He does not belong anywhere near this league, and yet here we are. Anyway, but Bakersfield, I feel like last year too, their team was a different team. It had a different feel to it, even though a lot of the same guys there. But that kid line that they had with Brody, Benson, and McLeod last year. Like that was what carried them. And they had problems getting guys like Lavoie and Malone and Gambardella to kind of show up and be consistent depth pieces when the kid line didn't kill it for them. And this year it feels like they're the opposite. Like they don't have that top heavy feel. It just feels like every guy on that line or in the, their forward lines can do something. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've been saying. A lot of other teams like Iowa and Hershey and what, like they don't have, some dude who's just there to go run amok and hit guys and punch people. Like all of their guys top to bottom can score. And that's what's makes them a scary team. It's not necessarily the high end sides that carry them. It's that like they can just roll lines and beat you. I think that gives them at least a puncher's chance against anyone in the Pacific that's not Stockton.
Anyone in the Pacific that's not Stockton. By the way, speaking of Stockton and Ontario, the only two teams that have clinched a playoff spot right now. And yeah, quote unquote. But
I mean,
you mean?
No, I was gonna say, like, I mean, Springfield's in, Utica's in. Like, there are other teams that are not mathematically eliminated, but like, let's be serious, they're in. They're making the Providence is gonna make it. I don't think like anyone's like, oh, Providence might not make it. That's not how it's working. The entire Pacific is basically already locked up. Like Tucson and San Jose are basically ECHL teams right now. They're not going anywhere. So it's the Pacific is now just jockeying for position. But like San Diego still is a good team in that division. Like they could, I think there is a very real chance San Diego could upset Ontario in the first round. Like LA is still banged up. They're going to, LA's priority is the Kings. It's not the Reign. So LA is going to the playoffs too, and the Ducks are not. So San Diego is going to have a buttload of reinforcements and Ontario isn't. But I think there's a chance. 3-game series. It's a weekend. Could San Diego sweep a weekend from Ontario if they don't have, the pieces they need? Yeah, absolutely. We've seen them do it.
Yeah.
Bakersfield, could Bakersfield upset, Ontario in a week? Yeah, they absolutely could. It's the West is, besides Stockton, and unless Ontario gets everyone back, like if Ontario manages to make it to the first round and the Kings bow out and they get Byfield and Dursey and all of it, like that is going to be a hell of a powerhouse team. Like that could be an Ontario team that takes a Calder Cup. But until then, they're not as deep as a lot of the other teams. And I think Bakersfield has a shot to upset them. San Diego has a shot. Like the Pacific is going to be fun.
Yes, it will. Hold on to your butts.
We're rambling on here. Let's go to break. Let's go to the cream of the crop. Best players of the weekend, and we're not going to have time.
Hey now, let's look forward for both of these teams real quick.
God, I'm jumping all over the place.
You pulled a CC there. You're jumping segments.
You could tell that we have not had a full night's sleep, and it's getting late here.
That is correct.
All right, CC. Let's look forward for the teams that we're covering here. Where are the Central and Pacific Division teams from this weekend series going?
Well, Grand Rapids, they're going to host the Texas Stars on Friday and Saturday before heading to Milwaukee to take on the Admirals on Sunday. Texas is heating up on the ice, going 6-3-1 in their last 10 while trying to stay alive in that Central Division playoff race. Grand Rapids is 3-2-1 against Texas this year, BTW. Milwaukee has already played Grand Rapids 11 times this season. Yep. That's the Central Division, all right. Grand Rapids is 5-5-1 against Milwaukee, but the Ads are 5-3-1 in the last 10, but they lost 2. They got swept this weekend against that Texas Stars team I previously mentioned. Grand Rapids is 4-5-1 in their last 10 games. On to Baco, they will play 2 games at home Wednesday and Friday, and 1 game on the road Saturday against the Henderson Silver Knights. And Henderson opening up the Dollar Loan Center on April 2nd. That Saturday, the rare mid-season, late-season arena opening. I don't know. Normally you wait until the next season, but they're like, no, we want this shiny new arena, and we want it for the postseason. So we'll see how far they get. But anyway, Baco is 2-2-1 against Henderson this season. Silver Knights are 2-7-1 in their last 10 games played. Condors are a lukewarm 5-4-1 in their last 10. But like I said, they looked good, and they could surprise some people come the Calder Cup playoffs.
All right, we're going to take a break here. After the break, we will get to the cream of the crop, the best players of the weekend. We will not have time for a quiz, unfortunately. So sorry to all of you out there who enjoy our quizzes. I promise we are going to have a fun one the next time we have a quiz. It's already in the chamber, but we're running long today, and it's late, and I'm tired. If you're just here for Bakersfield, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media where we've had some good memes recently, I feel like. Links to all of that and more can be found on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. We're going to run some bills, pay some ads, or we're going to run some ads, pay some bills. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
Unjustifiably in a position I'd rather not be in, but the cream always rises to the top, especially on the Calder Farmstead. We're talking the best AHL skaters on the weekend, and the Macho C.C is in the house with Sean O'Brien, the toughest SOB out there. Yeah, Shawnee, why don't you start us off, and we'll be on our way, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
All right, my third cream of the crop for the weekend is Josh Levo from the Chicago Wolves. 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points on the weekend. Had the OT winner against the Moose, set up Poldarowski with a beauty against Iowa that opened the scoring. 4 points on the weekend, that'll get you in this place. Josh Levo, my third cream of the crop. See, Macho CC, who you got in the third spot?
Ooh, I got Brandon Perlini from the Bakersfield Condors. 2 scores and a helper in Bakersfield's 7-3 trouncing of Grand Rapids on Friday. Tally a sweet breakaway goal on Saturday. And you've got my third cream of the crop for this past weekend. Funky like a monkey, too sweet to be sour, something like that. Yeah, snap into a Perlini. Can you dig it? Yeah.
Second for me is Cedric Paquette of the Laval Rocket. 3 goals and an assist for 4 points on the weekend. Didn't pout about getting waved down to the AHL. Instead, dominated the weekend for the Rocket. Gave them another scoring punch, which they need down the stretch. Cedric Paquette from the Laval Rocket. My second cream of the crop for the weekend. Macho CC, what do you got?
Oh, we're going to go to the Midwest and we're going to talk about Mitchell Chaffee and the Iowa Wild. Yeah, 2 goals and an assist, including the overtime game winner against Rockford on Friday night. That's a 5-4 victory. That's a lot of goals. Plus, he had another 2 goals, the only 2 Iowa goals against Chicago on Sunday. That's 4 goals and an assist. That's nothing to shake a stick at. That's nothing to shake a Slim Jim at, if you know what I'm saying. Mitchell Chaffee, don't chafe your drawers. My second cream of the crop.
For me, my top of the cream of the crop is Luke Philp of the Stockton Heat. 3 goals and an assist for 4 points on the weekend, all primary points. The game-winning power play goal against the Abbotsford Canucks in the second period. That'll do it for me. Luke Philp, Stockton Heat, my cream of the crop for the weekend. CC, who is your cream of the crop for the weekend?
Well, I'm going to go back to Laval, and I'm going to talk about Nate Scharr. Yeah. After getting traded to the Habs organization last week for Andrew Hammond, Schnarr potted his first goal with the Rocket, and he made it count. Waiting on the doorstep, he received the puck, lifted it over the blocker of Louis Domingue, and a top-shelf goal. Count it for the score. That's a game-winning goal. In his third game with the Rocket, you love to see it. New uniform, new place. It's like dropping an elbow from the top rope when you finally put that puck in the back of the net. That was a 5-3 victory over Wilkes-Barre Scranton, the Baby Pens. Oh, yeah, Schnarr. Getting that game-winning goal. That's my first cream of the crop. Can you dig it? Yeah, maybe I am insane, and maybe Nate Schnarr is the first cream of the crop, if you know what I mean.
All right, CC, kick it off.
The spirit of the Macho Man has left me. Let's wrap this up. Thank you for the show. Thanks. That's it for the show. Thank you for watching and or listening. The Calder Farmstead is part of the Full Press Radio Network. You can listen to this and several other great sports, hockey, of course, sports and sports entertainment, aka pro wrestling, programs at fullpresscoverage.com. Just click on the podcast drop-down menu in the top right portion of the website and enjoy.
And if you're enjoying the Calder Farmstead, please make sure you subscribe so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon, please rate and review the podcast. Or if you're watching it on YouTube, like the video, comment what you thought of the show. Doing so helps others find the show, and your reviews help us improve it. You can also follow the show on social media at Calder Farmstead on Twitter, at the Calder Farmstead on Instagram and Facebook. Links to all of that and more can be found on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/The Calder Farmstead. Big thanks to Adrian Drake, who made our theme music. You can find him on social media at AD_dysfunction. That's AD_DYSFUNCTION. So you can make music for you too. CC, where can the people find you?
Well, hey, my name is C.C. Hockley. You can find me representing Full Press Hockey on Twitter at FPC_AHL and at my personal Twitter account at CC Hawk. That's SEESEEHAWK. Catch the wordplay there? Of course you do. Mainly tweet about hockey from my personal account, but hey, I like classic rock. Genesis and Rush are a couple of my favorite bands. I like pro wrestling, if you can dig it. And yeah, but hopefully if it keeps me interested, it is not going to be bullshit for you. Check out my writing on the Full Press Coverage Network at fullpresshockey.com. Enough about me. Sean, where can the people find you?
I'm Sean O'Brien. You can find me on Twitter at Sean O'Brien81. That's SeanObrien81. I'm also on Instagram at Sean O'Brien_81. My Instagram is not terribly remarkable. My stories, though, are pretty decent. I do the jersey of the day every day to, kind of show off the jersey collection that I've accumulated. I think it's been going for almost 2 months now, and I still have not run out of jerseys. So it's a little fun thing every day. You can find all of my stats work on my Tableau page. The PDO things, that model, those graphs that you maybe saw on Twitter, that's up where they're all housed, and you can find that at bit.ly/data-dump-and-chase, all lowercase, all one word. Cece, it's almost midnight here. Take us home.
That will do it for episode number 93 of the Calder Farmstead. We are lurching forward towards the century mark. For Sean O'Brien, I'm CC Hockley, and as always, keep your stick on the ice.